Well, the last 24 hours left no shortage of news, a plethora of stories to cover. President Trump embattled in many storylines right now, from the Epstein files, of course, just a little thing called the economy, the things that they don't want him to be concerned about, which is we the people, worried about Mexico and Venezuela on top of tariffs and international politics. But he took some time out. And he put the man on your screen on notice. Oh, his legacy is about to be shattered. Just prior to the Epstein vote. Impeccable timing, President Trump. Did you hear what he did? Did you hear what was announced? Oh, don't worry. You're about to learn all about it in just a few seconds.
I believe that we all need to pay attention to Trump and how he acts. He is the cause of all the confusion and the destruction that we have seen in politics, as far as I'm concerned. Because it used to be we could disagree, and that was that. I disagree with a lot of Republicans, but it does not necessarily turn violent.
And I'm sorry, but instead, we are not only going to punch you back, but we are going to knock you out.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. It's Ted Cruz. I mean, like, this dude has to be knocked over the head.
And people wonder why I call her Jasmine Crockashit. Promoting a culture of violence, huh, Jasmine? Anything to get in front of the TV camera. Man, you may even do an ad for someone. And, I wish, because of copyright, I can't play the sound, but it's probably better for my audience I don't. But our founding fathers would just be rolling over in their grave. I think you get the idea. Heck of a way to promote the country, but let's just call you out for what you are. And you're going to run for Senate. It should be extremely entertaining before we go on break. Not many people know that we had one of the largest data breaches in history just occur. 1.3 billion passwords were exposed. And I need you to check, and you should check, if yours were compromised. The way you can do this, and you make your own choice on your level of security, so you can take my advice or not. Have I Been Pawned is the name of it. And the website looks like this. You type in your password, it tells you if you were part of the data breach or not. If you were, it's time to change your password. But that is my little PSA, public service announcement to you today, because I checked all mine and one was compromised. The others were not. So the website does work. But that's just a portion of several things to discuss today. Because again, remember, Trump put Obama on notice. Not even where I'm extremely pissed off. It's several people involving the Thomas Crooks case now attempting to get views by linking it to Charlie Kirk case, which is irritating and plain and simply just again absolutely pisses me off. And I will explain that in the second part of this podcast, which is always at Restricted Republic, our home platform. Love you to go there. As you know, I carry on my podcast, and you'll understand why I am so aggravated very quickly in that broadcast, because I am going to go off the damn rails. Also, make sure you're subscribed if you're new here. And for all of my existing subscribers, thank you for helping this channel to grow by making sure your bell is checked to all. I showed you how to do that yesterday, providing comments, by sharing these videos, by joining as members. It helps to keep these broadcasts rolling on. And one very special sponsor. Have you been to justicenight.gold.com yet? Because as we wrap up 2025, one thing is absolutely certain. That uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now, isn't it? Things change day to day in politics, and they change day to day in the markets. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan. That's a gamble. That's why Noble Gold Investments helps Americans protect what they've built with real gold and silver that holds its value when everything else feels uncertain. So this holiday season, remember, the best gift you can give to your family isn't under the tree. It's peace of mind. I need you to go to justicenight.gold.com right now. That's justicenight.gold.com cross-contamination.com. You see it just below me. And this holiday season, when you open a qualified account by going to justicenight.gold.com, you'll receive 10 1-ounce commemorative silver coins. They're beautifully designed, aren't they? With a jolly snowman season's greetings engraved within. These limited edition coins make thoughtful gifts for friends, for family, or maybe for your own collection. They're a joyful way to celebrate the season. Invest in something real. Remember, there's always a risk to investing, no guarantees. You need more information, it's in the description box below. But do me a favor, go to justicenight.gold.com right now. This has been one of our longest sponsors. It's an amazing company. And take advantage of that amazing gift. It's not going to last very long. But now, let's get back to this broadcast. Because it appears everything's going off the rails, right? Because people are being misled continually day by storylines. You probably saw this, right? Oh, the Comey case is going to fall apart. Well, more than likely, he's not going to be convicted of anything, unfortunately, because that's how our Justice Department works. But let me give you the truth behind the story and the headlines you read yesterday. Judge's order compelling DOJ to disclose grand jury materials in Comey case could spell trouble. Okay, what actually happened? Yesterday, because an unusual move by the judge, the department's highly unusual activity during the secret grand jury proceedings had the judge, who was William Fitzpatrick, call out that the DOJ had glaring mishandling of evidence presented to grand juries. Lindsay Halligan is the one being called out. To quote, "The court is finding that the government's actions in this case, whether purposeful, reckless, or negligent, raise genuine issues of misconduct, are inextricably linked to the government's grand jury presentation, and deserve to be fully explored by the defense." So what do? They hand all this information to James Comey's defense so they could analyze it, which of course the Department of Justice didn't want this early on. The judge also warned that grand jury proceedings may have been tainted beyond repair and could cause the court to dismiss the indictment, but not so fast. This isn't necessarily not commonplace. The grand jury issue stems from the evidence Halligan presented to the grand jury that the judge said improperly stemmed from years-old warrants. But when the Democrats did it, it was absolutely fine. But I digress. When presented the case to the grand jury, Halligan relied on evidence gathered from 2019 and 2020 warrants that were part of a past investigation, while, according to the judge, brushing off rules surrounding how investigators and prosecutors are permitted to review and seize information obtained through the warrants. Mar-a-Lago. But again, I digress. So he put out this large order. The DOJ fought back because generally not a grounds to invalidate an indictment. Misstatements of law by prosecutors in front of the grand jury is subject to and has a long history of litigation, coming from a 22-year DOJ prosecutor who represented 91 January 6 clients. Giving you a little background here. Not a new topic, and defendants rarely win on it. Update that happened last night that, of course, the mainstream media won't cover for you. It goes up to the primary judge, who's Michael Nachmanoff. I think I got that right. The district court judge overseeing the Comey case has, in response to the DOJ's emergency motion, issued a stay on Fitzpatrick's ruling to allow the government to file its objections, Comey's defense team to file their response. The ruling will remain on hold until the objections are heard and resolved, and we will bring you updates. So everybody, just take it easy for a moment. I want to make sure you always get the real stories here, the ones that are important to you, and there is to stay. New York's socialist red wave. Democrats, Socialist of America, because if AOC endorses it, then it must be good. Look in the middle there. There's Zoran. See, that was from a little while ago. Well, we know now Zoran got elected the Democrat Socialist of America, but now it's rolling on. It's picking up steam. Katie Wilson out of Seattle announcing she has been elected. Another socialist now coming out of L.A. The announcement's been made. Ray for L.A. going after Karen Bass. Another socialist. You think that's it? Oh, no. Announcement made yesterday. Chiase, I think. I'll figure out the exact enunciation here shortly. Coming after none other than Hakeem Jeffries. Now going to face a primary challenge. I guess that government shutdown wasn't such a good idea, but why would Hakeem Jeffries be open to such scrutiny by another Democratic Socialist of America. I mean, Hakeem's always on the up and up, right? Except he's got some trouble, doesn't he? One of his congressional members here, as the Washington Post exposed, receiving text from Jeffrey Epstein during the questioning of Michael Cohen.
Barack Obama was president of the United States. And while we were once driving through a struggling neighborhood in Chicago.
You see the message there. Are you chewing? Not anymore. Representative Stacey Plaskett. Well, a few people had a few questions for Hakeem Jeffries, and he's in a whole world of trouble now, isn't he? Because listen to him answer the question, and I love the statement there. Karma is a bitch, isn't it?
Why should Americans trust you and House Democrats on the Jeffrey Epstein files when one of your own, Congresswoman Plaskett, was found to be texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a hearing, getting information from him, using that in her questioning during a congressional hearing, and at one point he tells her, "Good job."
This is a bipartisan effort to make sure that, consistent with what the survivors have requested, that there's full and complete transparency, and every single predator who may be in those Justice Department files doesn't escape accountability.
That was a hell of a way not to give any answer whatsoever. Wonder why Hakeem didn't give any answers. A newly revealed email shows Democrat-funded group Dynamic SRG contacting Jeffrey Epstein about whom? We are thrilled to announce that we are working with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, one of the rising stars in the New York congressional delegation, sometimes referred to as Brooklyn's Barack, or as we call him, Dollar Store Obama. Wow, ties that bind the Democrats now suddenly wanting these files out. Are you so certain? Because hell did freeze over yesterday. I'm going to show you two articles from the Daily Mail and HuffPost that show Democrats are running scared now because Trump just gave them everything they asked for. But to show you the king of deflection, why the Democrats always accuse Republicans of doing exactly what they are, but this man has lost it so badly. When asked a question about President Biden, listen to how he answers the question. This is how far off the rails they are over these Epstein files.
Okay.
Senator, on that note, just I guess a question that's out there. Why wouldn't they have been released the last 4 years when President Biden was in office?
Well, that's the question every American is asking. Or not every American, but so many Americans are asking. What the hell is he hiding? Why doesn't he want them released? When you don't want something like this released, when even a whole lot of Republicans are calling for the release, his own party members, people ask the question, what's he hiding?
Except the question was about Joe Biden, not about President Trump. Chucky, are you okay? Do you actually listen to what was asked? Or do you just have those talking points and sound bites that at any cost you must get out? You see how fragmented you all are? That's a sickness, isn't it? You must blame Trump at all times for everything. Listen to CNN get tongue-tied here in their sick and disturbing accusations. Even when they're trying to protect their own asses against President Trump suing them, they can't stop themselves.
The president has not been accused of any crimes or wrongdoing as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein or these files, even with these emails being released. That's one thing that we need to make clear. But
yet,
one thing about...
He has not been charged yet. Yes.
Yeah, there's no accusations, though, of any wrongdoing so far.
So far. Do you see how sick and disturbing it is? You figure why this is why Trump snapped? To get this off the table, to get it done with. Why he said, quiet little piggy, or whatever it was the other day on Air Force One. The continual questioning. because he actually has to focus on other things, doesn't he? Potential war in Venezuela, battle in Venezuela, Mexican drug cartels, international politics, trade wars, domestic disputes, immigration, border enforcement, taxes, healthcare. Let's stay on that one for a moment. Kind of important to we the people. Most of us feeling we spend too much and get too little in return. The only people who profit is Big Pharma. And so he called him out several weeks ago, November 8th. I'm recommending to Senate Republicans that the hundreds of billions of dollars currently being sent to the money-sucking insurance companies in order to save the bad health care provided by Obamacare be sent directly to people so they could purchase their own much better health care and have money left over. In other words, take from the big bad insurance companies, give it to the people, and terminate per dollar spent the worst health care anywhere in the world, Obamacare. Unrelated, we must still terminate the filibuster. Some people forgot about that statement. And suddenly yesterday in mainstream media, this new headline pops up that Trump did something miraculous and new. You see, they don't pay attention. Because if you paid attention, you'd realize that he's already talked about this not once but twice. And actually a lot more than that, but we'll just focus on these two for the moment. Major health insurance company stocks performance after Obamacare. Look at that spike from United Healthcare to Cigna to Humana to Molina to Centene to Aetna. Man, they made a lot of money. Interesting, huh? But there was transparency with Obamacare, right? Tons of transparency. It was the best healthcare system ever created, ever designed. This was Obama's primary legacy.
We're going to take the money, well, if it gets approved, we're going to take the money, we're going to pay it back to the people of our country to go out and buy health insurance. Now, they can put it in a health account. We can do it a lot of different ways. But they buy their own health insurance. They can negotiate price. And it's going to be locked so they can't go out and buy a Cadillac. They can go out and buy health insurance.
Oh, now that's a good thought, huh? Put healthcare on the market. Make it competitive. Make these health insurers compete for what healthcare you're going to buy. Compete for your dollar. What happens when there's competition? Prices go down. It's in lack of competition or no competition that prices skyrocket. He started by saying, and the biggest part for Obama, who's now on notice, that he's talking with Democrats about gutting Obamacare. Obama's legacy might be doomed. What do you think Trump is maybe offering them in exchange, I wonder? You see, President Trump's got several bones to pick, one with the Clintons and the other with the Obamas. I said, why not just pay directly to people? Let them buy their own insurance. I made that statement a little bit cavalierly, but it sounded good, and everyone has picked up, including some Democrats. People love it. We're going to take the money, if it gets approved, and pay it back to the people. Pay the money from the tariffs back to the people. Shred Obamacare that, remember, had so much transparency.
Not have passed. Okay, just like the people, lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. And basically, call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever. But basically, that was really, really critical to getting the thing to pass. And, it's the second best argument. Look, I wish Mark was right. We can make it all transparent. But I'd rather have this law than not. So it's kind of like his reporter story. There's things I wish I could change, but I'd rather have this law than not.
They've been laughing at us for years. One of the biggest money-making schemes ever, not for you and I, but for the insurance companies, for the healthcare providers. Mostly the insurance companies and Big Pharma. And hence why President Trump is now targeting it. Was there ever transparency? No. You just heard them mocking you, mocking us, mocking me, mocking we the people, because they wanted the law, even if they provided no transparency. Honesty didn't matter. as long as the law passed. But, President Obama, he didn't lie to you, did he?
Also those who claim that our reform efforts would ensure illegal immigrants. This too is false. The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally.
That didn't age very well now, did it? Because that is not what happened. Immigrants with DACA protections will be eligible for Obamacare, and hence your my tax dollars. With Obamacare, not only did our premiums skyrocket, not only did our cost for healthcare skyrocket, but on top of that, we were paying for the healthcare of those here illegally. And just talk about getting punched twice, at least, on the same Obamacare. But it appears now that legacy is on very shaky grounds. Because as we're coming into this Epstein vote today, when you would think that's all President Trump is focused on, oh no, he takes a swing not only at Obama, and now he took a couple swings last night. Because remember, hell froze over last night. Trump's clever move. The truth behind Trump's dramatic late-night Epstein file reversal, it wasn't a gamble, it was a tactic. The White House insiders say it's Democrats who will pay the price. So what's Trump doing right now? He's unloading like he always does at every angle. He's had them on shaky grounds for months now. Unload on Clinton, unload on Obama, unload on the Epstein files, unload on the House Democrats, unload on the Senate Democrats. They don't know which way to go. It's one of his best strategies lately. So bad he's got even Larry Summers just going away. So bad that hell froze over that HuffPost even had to cover it. That is their headline story today. Deeply ashamed. Larry Summers has stepped back from public engagement over Epstein's emails. But I thought this was all about President Trump. Orange man bad. All they can seize on is a little explosion that he has on a plane. But let's play that clip in context and understand why he got so upset.
Jeffrey Epstein and I had a very bad relationship for many years. But he also saw strike because I was president. So he dictated a couple of memos to himself. Give me a break. You're going to find out what did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people that he knew, including J.P. Morgan shares. Yeah, Jennifer, go ahead. Go ahead.
In the file,
Quiet.
Because no matter what answer he gave, in the middle of him answering a question, they don't like the answers of the Democrats' names, so they interrupt him. And he lost it. Appropriately? No. That was inappropriate. But I hope you understand now why the context of why he got upset, because a lot of people only got a portion of the soundbite, but he didn't stop. Now he took the shotgun of truth, pulled it out, and fired in multiple directions, including even Chris Wray. Some people missed this. A little bit under a day ago, Wray lied. Christopher Wray testified before Congress that he did not place FBI agents in the crowded J6. He also needs to be indicted for lying to Congress and do some hard time, and that is what President Trump chose to throw out there. Why do you think he's doing that? Just framing in the psychology of politics as I do almost every day. He fired at Clinton, Larry Summers, the Epstein Democrats, Obama, now Chris Wray and the FBI. And he's not going to stop there. Because they can't keep up with the man. And once these Epstein files are out of the way, folks, kitty bar the door. Because this man's about to go into full tilt mode. And that's about as calm as I'm going to be able to stay today. Because as you know, Tucker Carlson's been working on the Thomas Crooks case. Many people have been working on it, releasing, asking questions, and I'm not here to say there's not parts of the case that aren't very suspect. But hard pause. This information now, yesterday, about Epic Microwave, a Gab account linked to Thomas Crooks. Why didn't the FBI tell you this? What are they investigating? The fact that he's part of a furry community? Or are they investigating if he has ties to other nefarious individuals and if there was a plan or plot involved with specifics to the case? Because I think people are having a real hard time delineating that. And you're probably sensing my aggravation. And you'll understand a lot more of that because I'm going to give you the details of exactly why I'm so aggravated. Because we're taking our eye off the ball. But maybe that's the idea. Distraction, as always. I'm going to kick this over now. If you're at Restricted Republic, remember, black and white version of the initial tab gets you podcast part 2. If you haven't gotten to Restricted Republic and you want to see a man off the rails, get there now, because I'm about to go there. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless you this night. Signing out.